Hi. A century ago, most Americans traveled long distances by rail to get to opportunity and to build better lives for themselves and for their families. And at that time, our rail system was, well, it wasn't a rail system at all. It was highly uncoordinated with over 1,000 operating companies and plenty of track that just didn't connect. This made for slow, unpredictable journeys and many, many stories of travelers who were left stuck and stranded in destinations they never intended. This is the very problem we are here trying to solve today. The work of the Indiana Achievement Wallet is the 21st century equivalent of working on the railroad, connecting tracks, aligning pathways, and giving learners clear signposts of what it's going to take to get to their best destinations. The work can be technical and it's surely complicated, but the impacts of this project are real and immediate and felt by learners most in need of a pathway to opportunity. I'm Marni Stein, Provost and Chief Academic Officer at Western Governors University. I want to welcome you to a discussion of the Indiana Achievement Wallet. What we're going to talk about today has the ability to become truly world-changing infrastructure, laying the track that will create worker mobility and drive equity at an unprecedented scale. The Indiana Achievement Wallet is a living embodiment of the vision for a skills-based future that was so thoughtfully discussed earlier this afternoon. This project is a collaborative between education institutions and tech companies, community-based organizations, and employers. We've all come together to work really hard on this project because we truly believe it can change lives. In the world today, we have an abundance of systems and operators that hold pieces of our personal history, of work, of education, of experience. Systems like the railroads of a century ago that don't talk to each other and that don't allow us to see where we're capable of going. This is trouble and a lost opportunity for each of us as individuals. And as a society, the gaps between education and the workforce mean higher unemployment, reduced national competitiveness, unnecessary limits to economic growth, and worst of all, an entrenchment of long-standing inequities. As you listen to this discussion today, I encourage you to think of the problems you face in your state around workforce and education and opportunity. How many of them are due to antiquated, disconnected systems that put learners and workers on the wrong track again and again? Systems that give no help in guiding our citizens to viable employment, and that in fact, often still leave them stranded in the wrong destination. We can solve these problems together. As you'll hear, it takes a great deal of work and know-how, and above all else, collaboration. But we believe the journey is worth it. Thank you, and with that, I'm going to turn us over to our amazing panel. As they're talking today, please interact with them. Drop some questions or comments in the chat. Thanks so much.
Many of us, no matter how much we have accomplished or learned, struggle to communicate our strengths and our skills. And none of us has the complete picture of what opportunities we are qualified for, or what opportunities could be right around the corner with just a bit more experience or training. The Indiana Achievement Wallet is a digital wallet or profile that tracks your learning achievements, helps you share those achievements with others, and helps you connect what you can do with available job opportunities. The Indiana Achievement Wallet can uncover the skills you've gained throughout life, from jobs, school, military, everywhere. You can explore how these achievements have prepared you for a particular job, and you can understand what skills or learning you may still need to gain. The Indiana Achievement Wallet can help you plan for the career you want. Everything on the Indiana Achievement Wallet is verified. That means when an employer asks you for your resume, diploma, degree, certification, or occupational license, or where you learned a skill, you have digital proof that you can easily share. Just like a resume, you can personalize this information, providing the best version of yourself for a new opportunity. And perhaps most importantly, you can find open jobs for which you qualify based on your skills and credentials. And employers can even find you. The Indiana Achievement Wallet empowers learners to show what they know, get meaningful jobs, and pursue satisfying careers.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining this session. What a terrific set of conversations we have had so far. It is my great pleasure to introduce this panel. First, my name is Rick Torres. I'm the CEO and President of the National Student Clearinghouse. We are a nonprofit based in Virginia, serving the education community for over 28 years. We are a technology company that essentially is a data platform as a service company. So thank you. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to our folks who are on video, starting with Kris.
My name is Kris Deckard. I am the director of Goodwill Talent Source, which is a program within Goodwill of Central and Southern Indiana.
Alex, over to you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Alex Kaplan. I lead IBM's global work around the application of advanced technology for the transition to the skills-based economy. You heard a little bit about our work previously from 110, as well as from our Senior Vice President, Obed Lusant. So good to be here.
Thanks, Alex. Good to see you. And now over to Kacey.
Thanks. I'm Kacey Thorne, Director of Skills Architecture with Western Governors University. It's a pleasure to be here with you all today.
Kymberly.
Hi, I'm Kymberly Lavigne-Hinckley. I'm Senior Manager for Coaching and Deployment with the Markle Foundation.
Darin.
Hi, I'm Darin Hobbs, the Director of Academic Records, Credentials, and Career here at Western Governors University.
Excellent. Well, thank you. And if we could advance the slide. Thank you. So essentially what you're going to see this afternoon in this session is the embodiment of a lot of what we heard about this morning. Essentially, the 5 things have come together. The first is the students. So this is a learner-centric platform that has been created and supported for the Indiana Achievement Wallet. It involves the community of care and counselors, and you'll hear a lot about that in this discussion today. It also involves schools and colleges and institutions of learning, which is really important. And finally, it includes the employers. And the entire platform is supported. All of these personas are supported by a platform that is extensible and flexible. And I'd like to turn it over to Darin now to give you a walkthrough.
Thank you so much, Rick. You know, when I experienced the video that started off this presentation, I don't know how many people resonate with the story that's in that video. I do, because that is my story. So much of my background has been not sure where I take the next step. What should I do? Do I understand my education and the skills it is giving me? That's my story, and it's also my motivation for participating in this project, because I want to ensure that people understand the value of their learning, the skills they possess, how they can bring those to bear and leverage them as they create their unique skills and talent brand, and also the opportunities that are in front of them that maybe they weren't even aware of until now. And that's what's driven all of the efforts around the Indiana Achievement Wallet. So I want to show what this wallet looks like. So we look at this first slide, and this is a mock student, but the information contained on this slide is actually coming from real credentials that have been created for the Indiana Achievement Wallet. And this student immediately on her profile page can see in this skills matrix that just from 3 credentials coming out of Goodwill Excel Center, she's got 95 skills that are directly related to medical assisting, something that she's interested in, and she chose to look at this occupational pathway. And these 95 skills are immediately presented to her in this beautiful graph so that she can understand that, wow, I actually got value from my learning. I want to know more. So she can actually hover over some of the skills that are listed in this graph, and she can see what those skills are. Here she's looking at one that is filled in. This is a skill I now have, so I can talk about that. She can also look at the ones that are missing. This is a skill that I'm missing. And from this profile page, she also has the ability to put in work history, portfolio evidence, whatever suits her as she develops her brand. She goes to look at her records. Where do these skills come from? So she navigates to the record section of her wallet, and she can see here that she's got 3 credentials coming from Goodwill. And one of them is labeled from Vincennes University because they actually also participated in the training of this learner through Goodwill to provide these skills. She can see that there's possibly 2 new achievements that she can accept. She can also choose to make these private or leave these private or make them public and searchable on the blockchain so that her verified skills can be discovered by interested employers. She then can navigate to her record and expand out that Vincennes University record, where you can see here that within that record are actual skills that have been aligned via the framework that we use in the Open Skills Management tool. And this is from the work that we did in collaboration with all of our partners around this Indiana Achievement Wallet so that we could help learners to understand through the transparency of their credentials the skills that they now have so that they can leverage that vocabulary, write better cover letters, stronger resumes, and speak the language of employers. She can also dig a little bit more into the skills and get a description of the skills. She can then jump over to her career pathway, and this is really powerful here. You see on this slide that she's looking again at medical assistance, and she's immediately presented with information that is relevant and germane to this potential opportunity. She can see the types of credentials people hold who have this position typically. She can see employment projections. She can see income spread that's possible in this occupation. And she can even see jobs that are now live. These are jobs that have been advertised that people are looking for her with her skills. She can click Learn More and actually see the presentation of a job description on that employer's website. This is powerful, powerful stuff. She can also investigate her missing skills. And this is another important element of the wallet. She can see what are those 5 skills that I'm missing and how can I fix that. By digging into these, look, we're able to show here's where you can go and get additional credentials that will shore up those skills for you. Eventually, we'll even be able to show transfer pathways as a part of this so she can see how the credentials she holds can yield credit toward these additional credentials. Lastly, she's not restricted to just medical assisting. She wants to know, where do I go next? I'm not necessarily interested in farm tech. I'm not interested in medical coding. I want to do something else. Where do I go? So now we see that this pathway can expand out. I like to think of this as an unfolding of possibilities, an unfolding of opportunity, so that she can now clearly see what is in front of her. And by clicking on all of these opportunities, that left-hand side of the wallet presents the same information. Here's what the employment projection looks like. Here's salary potential. Here are jobs in your area. Oh, and here are the skills that you need to get there, and here's where you can get them. I think this is extraordinarily powerful, and it's been through the work of this incredible partnership, this collaboration, that we were able to bring all of this together.
Darin, thanks for that. And I think for everyone in the audience, taking a look at the folks that have contributed to this, this really just reinforces the point that was made this morning that it really takes a village and a lot of partnerships to make this real. So now let's open this up, for a conversation. And I think the first area I'd like to explore is, for everyone to really talk about what is the nature of your work, in this space, right, and all these partnerships that are going on, but in particular, the progress that's happened in the development and enablement of the learner-owned, digitally enabled, credential learning and employment record. So I think that's the topics of Darin. Over to you first.
So the progress that we've made is due in large part, as a competency-based university, we were kind of born to this, but through the work of my colleague who will speak here in a moment, it's become all the more powerful and addressable in terms of this future of records. But my focus has always been on the future of the record. I want the record to be learner-owned. I want it to be dynamic. I want it to be living, if you will. And I want the learner to be able to take from their achievements and take from their credentials and create unique packages that best asserts their skills brand in this space. So the progress that we've made in terms of the Indiana Achievement Wallet helps to fulfill what I've always wanted to achieve here at Western Governors University, which is to turn the record over to the learner, let them take the next step, and support them as they do. I think we've made incredible progress.
Thanks, Darin. And I'd like to turn it over now to our community of care panelists, and starting with Kymberly. Same question.
Thanks, Rick. My efforts have been primarily focused on the community of care, and the community of care is really acknowledging that when we develop solutions to challenges like closing the opportunity gap or shifting the labor market to value skills, that the learner or the participant has to be at the center of our collective efforts. For this pilot, the community of care is that ecosystem of partners who are providing resources that are coordinated for learners and giving them the ability to be able to participate and persist in new opportunities along their educational and career journey. And so what does that mean in practice? That means that we are thinking about the needs, really spanning from even just communicating what the Indiana Achievement Wallet is to participants and helping them understand the benefits of participation in this pilot, even this early in development, to the broader ecosystem efforts, for instance, continuity of supportive services or seamless referrals from one education provider to the next, and how technology can help to enable all of that. All of the education partners in this pilot provide access to support staff for learners, and that's intentional. And these support staff can go by titles such as career coaches or career counselors, navigators, mentors, but what's really important is that we think human support is critical to the success of the Indiana Achievement Wallet. I mean, this pilot could run without the community of care, but the question is, who would it benefit? It would benefit those most likely who are currently enrolled in some form of higher education or maybe have completed a degree program, possibly those who have a strong support network. But it might not benefit those who have been left behind in the economic recovery. And we want the Indiana Achievement Wallet to be inclusive of all learners. And to do that, we have to provide the innovative technology and the human support.
That's a great set of points, and we know that a lot of this really is about local applications. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Kris, who will talk about what she's doing.
Yes, thank you. For Goodwill of Central and Southern Indiana, our goal involves our Excel Center. So for those that may not be familiar with the Excel Center, it is a high school, an adult high school diploma school. We opened in 2010 to serve an option for the more than 254,000 Hoosiers, working age Hoosiers without a high school diploma. So since 2010, we are at 15 locations in Indiana, and the Excel Center through our national office has expanded to 5 states, with as many states currently working on laying policy foundation to launch Excel Centers. And so in Indiana last year, we enrolled over 4,000 adults who were seeking their high school diploma. and 98% of them graduated with either an industry recognized certification, most of those nationally recognized certifications, or college credit. So while we are producing a lot of talent for the workforce, we know that our learners struggle to really understand the credentials that they earn with us. They struggle to connect their credential with a specific job title, and those job titles might vary by employer. They struggle to understand which employers offer those job titles. And then we struggle, our community care, we have operated with a community of care since the Excel Center opened. We focus on barrier removal to help our students achieve their goals. And so through that, we offer placement assistance, the traditional type of placement assistance you would expect. But a lot of our students, that handoff can still be complicated. How do you go through multiple applications, multiple employers? Even with someone working on your side through the Goodwill Community of Care, it can still be difficult for our students to actually realize the higher wages that we know they are prepared for, because they need to matriculate into those careers that their certification aligns to. So we are really hopeful and optimistic that the Achievement Wallet is going to help that transition and that handoff, mostly because employers will be able to find and approach our candidates, and it will not require our candidates always finding and approaching the employer.
Thank you so much, Kris, for that insight. And now I'd like to turn it over to Kacey.
Thanks, Rick. So my work in this space and with the Indiana Achievement Wallet has largely been focused at WGU on really unpacking what our degrees mean. We've always been competency-based, always been hyper-aligned with what industry is asking for in terms of the programs that we are offering. But we recognized, as the degree we're finding more and more becomes a poor proxy for identifying what people can actually do on the job. That we had some work to do in terms of unpacking what our degrees are in the language that employers are using, that language is skills. So through that work and the incredible work of our skills architecture team, we're finding ourselves in the middle of a unique moment where the Open Skills Network has evolved, a major cross-sector collaborative, including military, government, higher ed, industry, coming together to create a common language around skills that adds value to a learner's credential in terms of helping employers understand what the skills are that credential actually represents. But it also empowers the learners by providing them with the language of skills so they know how to talk about the skills that they're bringing to the table, how they can market themselves, how they talk to employers about their unique talent brand that they're bringing to the table. So this moment in time, this synergy that we have around really rallying with skills as a common language between higher ed, between training sector, between employers, and between learner workers is, I think, something that takes the Achievement Wallet and digital credentials just to that next level of value.
Kacey, thank you so much. And I'd like to turn it over to Alex.
We're talking about activating the ecosystem here. When you think about the challenge and the opportunity in front of us, we're talking about hundreds of millions or billions of people who are looking for work, or they're looking for other kinds of opportunities, tens of millions of employers. This is on a global basis. If we're going to activate an ecosystem that brings us to life, which we're in the process of doing with the Indiana Achievement Wallet, we have to have a secure and scalable infrastructure. And the keys to that infrastructure are interoperability, open standards, data privacy and security, and enabling people to control the information about their skills, about their job hunts, and to let them make the decisions about what skills to share and with whom they should share it. And it needs to be very simple to use. It needs to be easily available for anybody to download it and to get access to all of this information. And in creating that kind of a situation, we will transform the way skills are used today. We'll take them off of our walls on our diplomas. We'll put them into people's wallets on their phones. We'll give them the opportunity to use those skills to think about career pathing, to look for jobs, to look for adjacent opportunities in different industries and schools to go to. And we're just going to make it a whole heck of a lot easier to connect people with jobs. And infrastructure is going to be the key to doing that at scale.
I'll just add from the National Student Clearinghouse's perspective, we've been doing a lot of listening over the past couple of years. And with our strategic partner, IQ4, the Clearinghouse has brought two things to the table. First, verified credentials, which the Clearinghouse is known for, but also IQ4's specialty, which is looking at skills-based pathway development and the building out of a lot of the technology that is now being enabled as part of the Indiana Achievement Wallet skills area. So the platform design has been really about understanding how we can create something which can allow for progressive engagement of learners through their skill development, through different industries over time. And that flexibility is essential. We have different types of students, we have different types of communities of care, we have different types of institutions, but we have different types of employers. So that flexibility is very important. So let's go to a second question, and it's how will the evolution of the education workforce landscape, how is that evolution going to benefit students and institutions? And I'd first like to start with Kymberly.
Sure, and I think that three things come to mind. And the first one, Kacey really addressed in her answer, and that is the ability for learners to uncover skills that they have gained throughout life, from school, from work, from military, from volunteer experience, and understanding how those skills are associated with a variety of occupations, and really being able to visualize what progression looks like for that person over time. The second thing is having all of the information in one place. And that includes diplomas, skills, credentials, degrees, where you learned a skill, and the digital proof of that skill. And that really gives control back to the learner, and it helps them from wasting time trying to gather all of this information, which in itself can actually be a barrier. And the last thing is having education providers communicating with each other to create more seamless transitions from one experience to the next, and helping to create plans for continuity of supportive services. I think that that's just having that is just one less responsibility that is on the back of the learner, and taking that off of their back.
Well, and why the communities of care are so, so important. And Kris, over to you. Would you like to continue this conversation?
Yes, thanks, Rick. I'd like to describe the IAW to our students, which I just did for the first time this morning, to our first class that is experiencing the wallet. And I tried to explain it to them as a SMART resume. So our students, as part of their capstone course prior to graduation, they develop a resume, a traditional resume. We talk about keywords and how to put your resume out there, but really, to the extent that it only serves them to the extent that it is shared with and understood by employers, the traditional resume. It doesn't always help them solidify the handoff to being noticed by an employer. And so for us, the wallet takes the guesswork out of job search and post-secondary planning. And because of the technology that underlies the digital badges, again, we're very hopeful that once our employer partners start to come into and use the wallet, they will be able to find our graduates and approach our graduates, and we can somewhat eliminate the middleman, which is challenging because that's part of my job and others of us here, right? But what we have to learn to do is to get out of the way and to let employers access our talent and to prepare our talent to present themselves to those employers. And if we can do that, then the IAW will unveil even greater talent pipelines to our employer partners than what we are able to do currently.
There's been a lot of discussion as I turn it over to Alex about the evolution of the education workforce landscape and the benefit to students and institutions. And, you know, Alex, we heard a lot this morning from IBM even about from an employer lens. And I'd love to gain your perspective on this.
Yeah, I'd like to open up the aperture a little broader here because remember, when you're talking about education providers, we too are an education institution. We too issue certifications. We too issue credentials. So, so we're right in that category with all the rest of you. And the reason we're in that space is because this is as much about talent management for us as it is about talent acquisition. And remember, our jobs are changing constantly. I mean, 10 years ago, we wouldn't have been hiring people to program quantum computers, but we are today. And 10 years from now, who knows what we'll be hiring people to do. So understanding the skills that people have and helping them understand how to continue to evolve and develop their skills as we look at the jobs of the future is really, really critically important to us. Another part of it that's really critically important to us is signaling in the marketplace what kind of skills we need people to have. So for instance, we've done work with healthcare institutions. They want their nurses to understand how to use technology. It isn't just about nursing, it's also about technology. And so we want to be able to clearly signal to the market, to organizations like yours, what kind of skills we need people to have. And finally, we want to broaden the aperture for the talent marketplace. We don't have enough people to fill our jobs. We need a bigger talent pipeline. We need people who can be flexible in terms of what jobs they have over the course of their entire careers. And, we're very committed to focusing on historically disadvantaged communities. And, we're all doing this in the context, and Walmart, Gayatri said this, I think, very well, but I would echo it for IBM. We're doing this because we need this to be successful in our business, right? We need a talented talent pool. It has to represent the world in which we work. We need different perspectives to bring the innovation that we need forward to the world. We want to give people good paying jobs and good paying careers so that they will stick with us. All of this skills-based work, the collaboration we're doing on the Indiana Achievement Wallet is all part and parcel of making that happen, which ultimately is about making jobs more accessible, helping people understand the careers they have, and for us, skills is the currency to get there.
Alex, thank you for your thoughts there. And it really, resonates in terms of opening the door to opportunities. So as companies think more broadly about who they hire, it would be great to see that translate into the K-20 ecosystem, right? And I'd like to turn to Darin now to talk a little bit about how this evolution is impacting education, higher ed in particular.
So I think this evolution is giving us opportunity so that we can give opportunity to our learners. And the opportunities presented to us is to be more responsive to the market, to understand the market. Historically, we've delivered credentials programs, and when I say we, I mean higher ed, that's been built upon our understanding of what typically do people need to move forward? How do people gain access to a career? So we offer these degrees, and we can offer degrees that also contributes to research needs, et cetera. But we've never really had our finger on the pulse of what the market is signaling, or if we have, we've not understood it at a granular level. So what we develop, what we design, and what we offer may not be hitting as close to the target as it could. So what I love about this evolution is that the sources of intelligence can now flow back to us so that we understand what we're developing, how we're delivering it, how we're assessing it, and how we measure that in terms of the impact is so critical to ensuring that we're doing our part to skill up a labor force, skill up individuals, provide pathways for people who want to change direction, that need to change direction. All of this becomes critical, and this ecosystem, this evolution makes this possible now in a way that I think we didn't have available to us before.
Now, those are great points, and empowering the learner is nothing more powerful than we can do. So I'd like to shift sort of gears a little bit. There was a lot of focus prior to this session about some of the work going on skill descriptors and things like, quality credentials. So I'd like to hear from both Kacey and Darin on this topic. I know you've done a lot of work in this area. So Kacey, what does that quality record need to show? And both in a traditional and non-traditional way, when you start thinking about, well, not everybody's going through a traditional education, but what does the record need to really show?
Sure. So there's a couple of things. I think, this record, this achievement wallet, the work that we've done is powerful not only for the workforce as a whole, for individual employers. Really, this is for every individual learner worker in the United States. And for a quality record to be beneficial to those individuals, it has got to be reflective of the things that they can do that matter to the workforce and representative of the skills that they are developing across a lifetime of work and learning. So from an education perspective, any educational credential that is going into the wallet, we could surface a student's degree to that wallet, and that still is beneficial. It's putting it into their hands for use in a way that we have not done before. But the impact and the power of the credentials that we are surfacing to a wallet becomes increased tenfold when we're able to speak about those credentials in a common language of skills. And so I think for it to be of maximum value, anything that goes into the wallet should have the backing of skills so that students can communicate to potential employers, other educational institutions, whomever they choose, what the skills are that their experiences in their education actually reflect.
Well, thanks, Kacey. Over to Darin.
So I'm on +10, everything that Kacey just said. But I'm going to say a quality record, first, foremost, digital. Let's leave the paper behind. It's time. It needs to be digital, and it needs to be expressed, and this is very important, and this was a mantra for us in Indiana Achievement Wallet. It has to be expressed using an open data standard so that that credential can become highly portable. Regardless of system of destination and origination, it has to be in open data standards. There needs to be open architecture around this as well, so that there's points of entry and access for everyone to participate. Digital, open data standard, defined, as Kacey was talking about. Let's be transparent about what our credentials mean. Let's own up. Here's what your credential means. Here's how we define it. Here's how we describe it. Here's the earning criteria by which you were able to get this credential. Here are the skills in it, and if not the skills, because I recognize people may not yet be ready to go there. They plan on it, but they're not there yet. So if not skills, then how does it align? Let's look at alignments. There are other open data standards that can be leveraged. Credential engines, repository, case. All of these things can be brought to bear to bring a richness to credentials that is so important to helping learners to understand the value of their learning, how it applies to the market, how it aligns to the market, so that we can show learners pathways to opportunity. That's how you define a quality record, in my opinion. That's the starting point.
That's great, Darin. And if you really think about everything that we've heard about up to now, and including everything that we're saying about what this wallet is enabling, you think about the 4 types of transitions that people go through in their lives, right? They go from one school to another. It could be high school to post-secondary. They can change schools within post-secondary. They go from post-secondary to business of some kind. They go business to business. And then some days they go back to school, and it could be a different type of training. A success here is that a student can learn a set of skills and have that general progression continue in an understandable way. And these quality data allow that to happen so that people really understand what's going on. And I think that's really at the heart of all of this, is how do you continue this enablement of continuous learning and progression? Yeah. So I think that's terrific. Well, we also know that there's a lot of changes that are going on and transformations, I mean, beyond just evolutions, outside of the data landscape. And a lot of these transformations are going to benefit these communities throughout the country. And so I really like to, as we have a national audience here, I'd like to talk a little bit about how these transformations are going to can be leveraged. And Kacey, I know you've got some perspectives on this, and I'll start with you.
I do. So I think one of the big transformations that's happening is the type of credentials that we are offering in higher ed. Gone are the days of the four-year degree being the end-all, be-all. Students, our economy, our employers need individuals to be able to skill and reskill at a much faster pace, and we need to be more agile in how we're responding to that within the higher ed landscape. So really looking at different kinds of education that we can be providing to students that is hyper-focused, hyper-aligned to what the workforce needs, and getting those achievements and those skills to students in an incremental way so that their return on investment across their educational pathway is much more immediate, that they've got employability before a four-year degree is finished. They are earning those skills across a lifetime of work and learning. And so being able to get that to them, empowering them with that language to be able to market themselves sooner than the end of their degree is a big shift in the landscape right now.
Thanks, Kacey. And I know, Alex, you have also been involved in countless conversations about the evolution that's happening out there, and revolution in some ways. So I'd love to gain some perspective from you on this.
It's really touches a lot of different areas. I mean, one is we are seeing transition from physical to digital credentials happen really fast. So, Darin said it's time to be rid of the paper. I would say to you, the paper's already gone, and we're fighting a rear guard action with anybody who wants to keep it. Apple recently announced that driver's licenses will now be available in Apple Wallet. We are in the process. We're making vaccination cards available to everybody in the state of New York. So this concept of a physical credential it's history at this point. From the skills-based perspective, this touches every sector of the economy. There are not enough people to fill the jobs. This is opening up opportunity for people to enter into careers, and this crosses every field, every industry in every country around the world. And then from an employer perspective, one of the things that's happened over the course of the last year and a half with the pandemic is that the transition to a digital world has just accelerated more. And that's put demands on all of us in terms of continuous innovation, and also for people to learn how to work and to operate differently. Look, this conference today is a perfect example of it. We have some of you in a studio in Salt Lake City, and others of us zooming in and talking about this in a digital kind of way. This is the future. It's arrived. And so all of this is coming together, and it's challenging our assumptions about how we deliver government services, how we manage communities, how we grow organizations, what the role and the nature of work is, and we're all going through this journey together. So we have to keep in mind the broader context of what's happening here, and realize that what we're doing here in this conference, this is the new normal, and this, it's going to get more and more like this in the future.
Alex, thanks for that terrific perspective. And what I would add in terms of transformations. Let's understand that the job market today is very different from what it was 3 years ago. Very, very different. And the pandemic has introduced a set of variables that were completely unexpected, and a set of reactions and accelerations. And you heard a lot about that this morning. So we're on the precipice of really taking advantage of this huge opportunity to make this type of training and development available en masse to the United States and to all of its citizens. I mean, this door has opened up. It's a fundamental change. Diversity, equity, and inclusion are a big theme and a big topic, and you've heard big employers talking about the relevance of this and how skills-based hiring can be a great equalizer. Well, that's the opportunity that sits in front of us here. It's a huge transformation from where we were 3 years ago. No one would have envisioned this type of change, back pre-COVID days. So I think, Kymberly, you had a few things you wanted to add.
Yeah, I just wanted to add also the movement toward aligning the workforce system and the higher education system, and also the necessity of providing supportive services to individuals. It isn't just about access to training or access to a job, but it is about addressing barriers. What is preventing you from taking that next step? Think childcare, transportation, think healthcare, there's so many different barriers, and we have to think about addressing those, and that is key to this transformation as well.
Thanks, Kymberly. And I'll add one more comment. Some data was released yesterday by the Clearinghouse talking about declining enrollments in higher education. And what I would tell you is that higher education is also in the middle of a pretty big transformation. There are lots of schools that are beginning to include learning outcomes as part of their degrees, recognizing that this will help better place their students at jobs. Right? And even schools that say, well, my students always get employed. The question is, are they actually being undermatched? Right? Meaning that they're being recognized for their school that they went to potentially, but not on the skill level that they may actually possess. Right? And these are all opportunities for education, whether it's community colleges or the traditional four-year schools, to think differently about how they can meet the opportunity that's present in front of us. So I think we're going to turn to some audience questions, and I think the first one that we have here is, how can different employers and educational service providers agree on a common set of skills and performance level criteria? So I know, Kacey, you've been doing a little bit of work in this space, so over to you.
I have, and I think my answer to that is the beauty of an open architecture, open standards, is that they don't have to. They don't have to necessarily agree on a definition of what a skill looks like for a particular job role. Employers can still retain a unique mix of the skills that they're looking for a particular job role. Education institutions can still maintain a unique mix of what their programs are that they're offering. But when all of those things are described in an open data standard way, it allows for interoperability that we don't have before. So when we talk about a common language around skills, we're meaning a common language in terms of the way that the data are expressed and not necessarily the words that are used. There may be a day where we get to that, and there's enough synergy. I think we have seen just in the last 18 months the kind of energy around a rich skills descriptor or another common open taxonomy or syntax has really taken off. I do think that the day may come where you have common languages and understandings across sectors, employers about performance levels and skills. But right now, using open data standards as a way to describe those things is a step in the right direction.
Well, I think the second question actually builds off of what you just said, which is, with multiple skill languages emerging in multiple industries, what do you think? Several of you may have perspectives on this. How do we begin to move to a common skills language? What are some of the drivers that we think would be enablers of that? So I don't know if, Kacey, you want to keep, and then maybe Alex, you might have some thoughts on this.
Yeah, so I think some of the work within the Open Skills Network and some of the energy around creating open libraries of skills that are structured in a common data syntax is a step in that right direction. And so I think as we see more open skills libraries start to come online through that effort, I think you'll inevitably see sort of the cream rise to the top, right? Some of the libraries may become more industry accepted, more used than others, and so I think just a evolution of how an individual library is being implemented across sectors will probably happen.
Excellent. Well, thank you for that. Alex, do you have thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think that industry collaboration is really an important dimension to all of this as well. We work very closely with our colleagues in Microsoft and Amazon and Cisco and on and on and on, right? In terms of the kind of skills that are required to be successful in the technology industry and encouraging all sorts of places to offer skills-based courses that help people build those skills. But another really important component of this is, we just announced an initiative to train, help skill enable 30 million people to be able to get jobs in our industries. And a big part of what we're doing, and again, Google and Microsoft and Amazon are doing, Cisco are doing the same thing. We make our training materials publicly available. And so one way that we sort of get to a skills, sort of standard skills taxonomy, at least in our own industry, is through actually creating training itself and making that available. And I think that helps lift all of our boats here because once people take that freely available training that we have out there through Skills Build and the PTech work that IBM has done, they start to apply it, they get jobs, and then they grow from there. So to me, that's another really important pillar towards arriving at a common approach to building skills that enable people to get jobs. We're seeing the same thing happening in the veterinary industry. They're doing the same thing. Human healthcare, I think, has been out in front on this for a long time. So I think each of the industries are starting to really dig in to address this. And we love the Open Skills Network work because it gives us all a common set of standards and a way to have the discussion with each other and to make it such that it's machine readable and usable, as we're doing talent recruiting and talent management.
Thank you very much, Alex. Another question has come in, and this is an interesting one. For professionals already progressing, in their careers that possess skills that are unmapped, right? So this is like, wow, I've been in business for 20 years. I have no idea how to even begin to think about this. How can prior skills learning be added to an individual's wallet? So Darin, over to you. I'm sure you have some perspective on this.
So one of the things we have talked about is the need for learner workers to be able to make self-attestation within their wallets. Because like for myself, my degree is from, when God was a boy. And I don't know how I could ever get it into the wallet. Plus, through all of my work, I've been doing things that have provided me with skills that may not be reflected through specific job titles. So the ability to make self-attestation and provide portfolio evidence where and when appropriate becomes all that much more important in terms of a wallet. I could say that I have skill participating in a panel that's almost as good as Kim and Kacey's. I can make that assertion and then link to a video that is recorded and available on the web as my portfolio evidence. This is how we can make the Achievement Wallet accessible to everyone, is by allowing for the self-attestation of skills, of experience, and then give them the ability to back it up with what evidence is available.
So Darin, thanks for that. And I think there was a question raised. We're not going to be able to get to it about confidentiality and how we deal with that. And tomorrow we'll be doing some infrastructure technology conversations as part of a TED Talks. And I think that would be a great place to cover that particular question. So we're wrapping this up. So what I'd like to do is just go literally around the horn and really talk about, well, how do we get to where we want to go? Let's say 3 years from now. What does success look like? And what does the Indiana Achievement Wallet reveal about the potential of getting there? I'd like to start with Kris first.
Thanks, Rick. To us, the Achievement Wallet reveals the potential for our learners to have their skills be the first impression that our employer partners or any employer has of them. So in this world, ideally 3 years from now, employers will be using the wallet to recruit candidates based directly upon those skills and how they align with their talent pool needs. And then at the same time, it allows our coaches to then focus their efforts on how to make sure our graduates are best prepared to present themselves in that interview once they get it, and also to make sure those barriers have been removed so that graduates are ready to move immediately into maybe a full-time position with tuition reimbursement and a career ladder in front of them like they've never seen before. The thing that I always equate this to, as I've been working on this project and learning more and more about it myself, it kind of turns a career ladder into spokes of a wheel. So for a learner with a certain credential and skills, experience behind that, the spokes of the wheel represent all the directions in which they can go, whether that's work or additional learning. And it's going to allow us as an institution to help our candidates prepare and explore and dream about all of those different directions, while our employers are able to really make the best use of their time in recruiting and directly connecting with our graduates.
Kris, thank you so much. Alex, over to you. Last thoughts here on this.
Well, first off, this is already real today. So I think it's important to understand that the challenge in front of us is taking this to scale, solving the last mile problem that makes it easy to connect job seekers with jobs, people without educational and skills-based opportunity in the communities in which they live. And our job is to make that more efficient, to make it more effective, so it's easier for people to handle it. So to me, success looks like if I grow up in Albuquerque, New Mexico, I have on my wallet, my equivalent, the Indiana Achievement Wallet. I have on my wallet, the equivalent of Yelp for careers. And I got all of my information there from my time at Central New Mexico Community College. I know what kind of skills I need to get a terrific job at Intel, which is expanding their factory in the Albuquerque area. I noticed I have a few skills that are missing. I know that I can go get those skills at the University of New Mexico, and then I can apply directly for that job out of my wallet. And my view of success is we have, 100 million people with those wallets in their hands, and it's going to connect them to jobs in their communities, and it's just going to be a whole lot simpler, more efficient for everybody, and a lot more successful. And we're going to see an explosion in diversity and inclusion in terms of the kind of people who are getting family-sustaining jobs and are getting really great careers.
Thanks, Alex. And then to Kacey for the last word here.
So my final thoughts would be that this ecosystem is critical for our economy at a state level, at a local level, at a national level. It's critical for every learner worker in the United States. So any step in this direction that we can take is a right step. And just to keep in mind that the technology alone is not a solve. We really need to focus on those wraparound services and the community of care support to make everyone successful.
Well said. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and we really appreciate your time. Thank you.